What an awesome song. Welcome to Community Spot. I feel like I need to assume the uniform on behalf of Pierre's last day, so I hope you can still take me seriously while I'm wearing a button. All right. Community Spot. In internet terms, this is really ancient news, but to me it's a really fairly recent discovery. So I thought I would do two things. I'd share it with you and also share how out of touch I've been for the last couple of years. If you've known about this place for years, forgive me. It's new to me and I'm excited and I need to share it with you. There's a hugely popular restaurant chain in Japan known as Ichiran. It has one dish, ramen, although you can choose how spicy, how soft, how flavoursome you want your noodles. But the thing about Ichiran that made it an internet sensation was that you order your meal using a vending machine at the entrance, and when you enter, you're greeted with this. Hopefully. That, yes. Ichiran is a restaurant for introverts. You order alone, you sit alone, your meal is delivered through a bamboo curtain, so you don't even need to speak with an actual human. And you eat alone, complete with nifty little booth walls that shield you from the people next to you. Of course, if you really want to talk to the person next to you, if you came in a couple, maybe, you can fold the wall back. But the vibe is all about isolation. It frees you from the distraction so you can just focus on the simple pleasure of a dish of ramen. You even have your own individual water dispenser, so you don't even need to ask a waiter for some drink. On one level, the goal of Ichiran is to provide a dining experience without the awkward possibility of accidentally making eye contact with a stranger. In a crowded city, how nice to find a space where you can be surrounded by people and not have to interact with any of them. But the irony is that the restaurant is so incredibly popular that people queue up to eat there. It's usual for people to wait at least half an hour, if not an hour, outside the restaurant in a big long line to wait to be seated. And you can find photos of crowds waiting in groups outside the restaurant just for their chance to sit alone and eat ramen. So many people gather together in order to be isolated. Now, initially, I was thinking that this community spot would be a great illustration of how community requires us to interact and not just exist in the same space side by side. But then a really interesting thing happened when I started to tell people about this restaurant. People's reactions were very different to my initial one. And so, because people responded to the restaurant completely differently, it was almost like a Rorschach test or a personality test of how you responded to this restaurant. So I'm going to do a quick little scientific survey of the group here this morning, just to see how you reacted when I first explained Ichiran to you. So among you here, who heard about Ichiran and your first reaction was, it was a terrible idea and you couldn't think of anything worse than going into a restaurant and sitting by yourself? Hands up, those brave enough, okay? So some of you here were like, I'm never ever going to a place, that's horrible. Okay, you guys are possibly more likely to be the extroverts among our group. Now, this might require a bit more bravery from the rest of you. So who looked at images of that restaurant and thought, that looks pretty cosy? I'd like to go. Okay, that's awesome. Because that was my first reaction. It was like, ooh, if I ever visit Japan, I might go and visit there. So well done. Those of you who are super brave enough to put your hands up, you're the introverts among our group. So here's the thing that I actually learned as I started talking about this restaurant to lots of different people. Funnily enough, God's made us different. Isn't that amazing? For some of us, it would perhaps be fair to say that we love being around people most of the time. Being around people is energising for some of us, exciting even. If we have moments alone, some of us might get a bit twitchy. and feel the need to seek out company so that we don't have to be by ourselves. But on the other hand, some of us find people exhausting. We love people, don't get us wrong, but we're just as happy in a city surrounded by people that we don't have to talk to. Or we're able to amuse ourselves in our rooms with a good book, and we don't really need to interact much with other humans to be happy. And there are other people who fit in all parts of the spectrum in between. So how does that relate to community? My suggestion this morning is that our tendency can also be our weakness, and it can also be a strength to help others. I'm an introvert, and so my weakness is to withdraw too much from people. I can become a hermit with my books and my thoughts and my prayers and my time alone with God. I have no problem spending time alone with Him in quiet times, and people can sometimes exhaust me. But I need community members who are the extroverts to draw me out of my little shell and keep me in contact with people that I can love and care for, and a community to help me learn how to be a people together. But if you're unlike me and the thought of alone time makes you twitchy, then you need introverts in your community to remind you of the benefits of being alone with God. Even Jesus withdrew from the crowds at times in order to spend time alone with his Father. As humans, we sometimes need to stop bouncing from one social group to another and do time alone with God. Ichiran makes great ramen, I'm told, according to the TripAdvisor reviews anyway. But our community produces something greater and longer lasting than a good bowl of ramen. Communities make people. Communities shape people. Communities help people as they seek to serve their King and Creator together. And I personally find it a joy to be able to do that with other people.